Day, atomized antagonists. I'm Unsilent, and we're on the air with more Half-Life 2. It's episode 29 of Half-Life 2. Thanks for tuning in. We're on Chapter 13, Dark Energy, high atop the Citadel.
I'll take him from here. Don't struggle. It's no use. Until you're where he wants you, there's nothing you can do. I'm sorry, Gordon.
And Dr. Mossman is taking off to see him.
Satellites colonized by sentient fungi, gas giants, inhabited by vast meteorological intelligences, worlds stretched thin across the membranes where the dimensions intersect. Impossible to describe with our limited vocabulary.
What I've seen is also beyond words, Breen. Genocide. Indescribable evil. Good God.
Well, if it isn't Gordon Freeman at last. What's this? I'll put it over there. You have my gratitude, Doctor. First you lead me straight to the doorstep of my oldest friend, and then you deliver yourself? If I'd known you were going to come straight up to my office, I wouldn't have bothered hunting you in the first place. Having both of you in my keeping ensures I can dictate the terms of any bargain I care to make with the Combine.
Dr. Breen.
Huh.
Wallace.
Yes, Judith, what is it?
The bargain we should be making is for Eli's life so he can continue his research.
Thanks to you, we have everything we need in that regard. You're more than qualified to finish his research yourself. What neither you nor I can do is convince that rabble in the streets to give up their senseless struggle. Yet Eli refuses to speak the words that would save them all.
Save them? For what?
Eli, if you won't do the right thing for the good of all people, maybe you'll do it for one of them.
Alex. Honey.
Dad. Gordon?
God damn you, Breen, you let her go.
That's all up to you, my old friend. Will you let your stubborn short-sightedness doom the entire species, or will you give your child the chance her mother never had?
How dare you even mention her?
Alex, my dear, you have your mother's eyes, but your father's stubborn nature.
You haven't seen a bit of it yet.
Really? Well, let's see how well it serves you on the far side of a Combine portal.
Go ahead, Breen. If that's the worst you can do, send us both through your portal.
Oh, it's hardly the worst. But you might find that hard to believe once you get there.
It isn't necessary.
I agree. It's a total waste. Fortunately, the Resistance has shown it is willing to accept a new leader. And this one has proven to be a fine pawn for those who control him.
No!
Don't listen to him, Gordon.
How about it, Dr. Freeman? Did you realize your contract was open to the highest bidder?
Gordon would never make any kind of deal with you.
I understand if you don't wish to discuss this in front of your friends. I'll send them on their way, and then we can talk openly.
Don't struggle, honey.
Dad, I'm so sorry.
Alex, sweetheart.
Judith? What do you think you're doing?
We're doing what I could never do alone. We're stopping you.
Yes.
Is this a double cross?
Guards, get in here!
Or a double cross?
They know you betrayed them. They'll turn on you. Judith, Dr. Mossman, please!
I'm sorry, Wallace. You're all out of time. Don't.
Can't you zap him with that thing?
Hurry!
He's got the gravity gun.
Dad, hang on.
Does he know how to use it?
You fool!
Watch out, he's gonna...
No!
Okay, he does know how to use it. Wow.
Dad!
Oh, no. Don't worry about me, honey.
There's no time, Alex. He's on his way to the portal. You'll need this.
Dr. Mossman, Judith, look after my father.
Don't you worry.
Dad, I'm not saying goodbye.
Never.
Come on, Gordon. Let's go.
My girl.
If I didn't know you were in the key art for,
Gordon, We haven't known each other very long, but I know you didn't have to do this. I had to rescue my father, but you... Well, thanks for coming after me.
It's me you should be concerned.
Hey, listen.
I can still deliver.
That's him.
But not without your help. The portal destination is untenable. Surely you can set the relay elsewhere. There's no way I can survive in that environment. A host body? You must be joking. I can't
There
possibly...
he is.
Oh, all right. Damn it, if that's what it takes. Just hurry. He's right behind me. Oh, shit.
Wow, you're one ugly motherfucker.
Damn it, not again.
So I told you he was in it for himself.
Hey, look what he left behind.
Yes, he did.
The gravity gun. He doesn't have a clue, does he?
You'd think he would have figured it out the first time.
I wonder where he's going.
Well, he mentioned a portal to an inhospitable planet.
Oh my god. This is the Citadel's dark fusion reactor. It powers their tunneling entanglement device. We'll never have a chance like this again. We've got to stop Dr. Breen.
I'm sorry, what's dark fusion? I'm familiar with nuclear fusion, but...
I can't shut it down. Looks like he's turned over control to the other side. You'll have to go into the core and do what you can.
I assume do what you can is blow it up?
Get in the elevator and I'll let you in. Don't forget to charge up your suit.
I assume do what you can is blow it up, because that's usually how things go with me around. We're good to go. Alright. One quick save.
Do your worst, Gordon. But be careful.
I assume do your worst again means boom. Let's be honest. Things have a tendency to explode when old Gordo is involved, right? But yeah, saw Breen basically... It sounded like he was he could have, again, when he was talking in his office, he could have been bargaining for himself. He could have been bargaining for...
There he is.
Dr. Freeman, you really shouldn't be out there. At the moment of synapse, as I teleport, this chamber will be bathed in deadly particles that have yet to be named by human science. Perhaps when I have the leisure to do the work myself, I'll name one of them after you. That way you won't be completely forgotten. When the singularity collapses, I will be far away from here, in another universe, as a matter of fact. You, on the other hand, will be destroyed in every way it is possible to be destroyed, and even in some which are essentially impossible.
What the hell? Oh no, Combine soldiers. Where did they come from?
Oh, there's a... I'd say if it's possible to kill someone, it's not really impossible. It's not really an impossible... Oops. Oh, I got squished.
What the hell? Oh no, Combine soldiers.
There we go. Let's go around. Let's go around this way. Maybe we'll make use of the quick save a little more. I wasn't expecting... Sure, what the hell? Don't sneak up on me like that. Let's fire it at Wally's pod there. Oh. Nope, that's not working.
I don't know what you can possibly hope to achieve, apart from your own annihilation.
Don't listen to him, Gordon.
We'll just vaporize him instantly. And again, through. Anybody else making a surprise appearance? Yep, up there. Third time lucky and all. We'll send that flying. Oh, missed him. Bastard. There. That got him. Alright, so we need to hop on there and catch a lift up to the next level. I can do that. Okay. Yeah, let's hop up to here. There's a power recharge station anywhere? No.
Great. no, Breen started his ascent.
Missed it.
Before he escapes.
Overcooked it a bit.
Great. Oh no, Breen started his ascent. Hurry, Gordon, before he escapes.
Don't worry, I got it under control-ish. Are we going up a level? Down a level? Please be up. Alright. Where am I getting shot from? Everywhere. Oh. Okay.
I could have told you that was pointless, Dr. Freeman.
Go, Gordon.
Are you still with us, Dr. Freeman? Not for much longer, I think. If only you had harnessed your boundless energy for a useful purpose.
Okay, we still got a lead on Wally.
Oh my god. The portal is opening.
How about we fire things in general vicinity of the portal? Or not.
I hope you said your farewells. Go back.
Oh, Christ.
No idea what you're doing.
Oh man, they are. I might have gotten a shot in on him that time. Got one. There's another shot at him. Let's try potting shots in on that.
You don't know what you'll unleash. You could bring down this whole Citadel. Think, man. Think of the people below. No!
Yeah!
You need me.
Come on, Gordon. We've got to get out of here. Maybe we still have...
Time, Dr. Freeman? Is it really that time again? It seems as if you only just arrived. You've done a great deal in a small time span. You've done so well, in fact, that I've received some interesting offers for your services. Ordinarily, I wouldn't contemplate them, but these are extraordinary times. Rather than offer you the illusion of free choice, I will take the liberty of choosing for you, if and when your time comes round again. I do apologize for what must seem to you an arbitrary imposition, Dr. Freeman. I trust it will all make sense to you in the course of... well, I'm really not at liberty to say. In the meantime, this is where I get off.
I assume my stop is somewhere farther down the road. And Finn does it for Half-Life 2. It's in the books, in the pocket, and out of sight. So, that was an ending. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I figured it was because there's Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and 2 after this, which, yes, they will be played on the channel, don't worry. I've been asked a few times. Yes, that will happen. Not straight away, but yes, it will happen. I figured it was just going to continue on from there. So, you know, just logically, because Breen was the face of the Combine, we'd deal with Breen, and then it would be like, there's the next step, there's the next step. So I'm not really sure what to expect for episodes 1 and 2, especially considering people are still waiting on Half-Life 3. And I think if there's... that kind of brings me to, like, the one drawback of the game that I can think of right away, having done that ending. It's just... it feels very much like the middle part of a trilogy, right? It's like, does it have a beginning? Kinda. Does it have an end? Not really. Oh, Helen McClane's the voice of Overwatch. Yes, I know where that voice is from. Anyway. Yeah, it's just felt like it just sort of ended, right? So as opposed to like having this one ending, it's just like, oh, things are exploding and freeze, and here's G-Man. And we'll see you down the line. Gordo, crack legal team, I love it. So I don't think, you know? It just feels like if there's one disappointing thing, it's like, is there an ending? Not really. So it's very, it's like it's setting up the sequel. The Combiner's still out there. Breen's been taken care of. The Citadel's been taken care of, but those big villains, the Combine, they're still out there that you have to deal with. And that's something sort of like, you know, Empire Strikes Back. I'm going to use Star Wars example because, of course, I'm going to use the Star Wars example. You know, Star Wars, A New Hope, that was pretty self-contained. You know, exclude Darth Vader flying away. That's the only tease for a sequel down the road, was Darth Vader flying away.
Lamar! Blast that little... Where did she get to?
Damn head crab. No, so Darth Vader flying away at the end of A New Hope, that was the only tease for the sequel of Star Wars. Similarly, like kind of like in Half-Life, the only tease for a sequel was the G-Man hiring Gordon. And now here, okay, the Citadel's blowing up. What happens to Alex? What happens to the Combine on Earth? What happens to Eli, Judith, the Resistance, everyone there, the whole of humanity? What happens now, without Breen around, I guess? The center of power of the Combine is gone. So what happens next there? And that's sort of, that teases, that's the sequel's been set up. And I don't know, maybe there's, obviously there's got to be some payoff in HL2 episodes 1 and 2. But it just feels like there's a lot in that ending that is baiting you to a sequel. So I know I've spent a bit of time talking about that off the top, but I figure that's what I gotta get out. I gotta get out that first. I'm not exactly hamburger methoding it. One management lesson I'll impart upon you is when you're giving negative feedback, it's the hamburger method. So the buns, the top and bottom, good feedback, and the critical feedback, the negative feedback, the stuff to improve, that's the meat, that's in the middle. So I feel like I'm doing it sort of inverse hamburger method. So the KFC double, the one with the was it the double down with the two, where the buns were the two cutlets of chicken. But I mean, no, this is a great game. I mean, it looks good for a 15-year-old game. I mean, it's aged a lot better than, you know, Half-Life 1, which now is 21 years old. Oh, this is going to be sacrilege, but I just reviewed Spyro the Dragon on the channel, and I talked about how it was also a 1998 game, and that game was part of this, like, and I broke it down in that review. You guys should go watch it because I really like doing that review. But I broke down this, like, 1998 was like this amazing year for video games, and I think Spyro the Dragon, because of its art style, not very realistic, that aged a hell of a lot better than Half-Life 1. Now, Half-Life 2 ages a lot better than Half-Life 1. No, is it the photorealism that you expect from this generation of video games? No. But it's not like Half-Life 1 where character models they could border on terrifying at times. I mean, yes, I realize that, yes, I've seen the pictures of the non-HD pack, And yes, those would qualify as terrifying, but yes, again, 20-year-old game. And one other thing I liked about this game was the changes of pace. It kept changing the pace, and it kept changing the situation. It would throw fresh enemies and combinations of enemies at you and keep things moving. In that regard, the menu screen I'm looking at right now is from Highway 17. Yes, there's a driving section. I'm sure not a lot of people love that. I love it, but I'm also the guy that has racing games as a staple of his channel. So I like having the driving section and the boating section with the hovercraft. And you got first section of the game where you don't have weapons. The last section of the game where you've only got the one weapon. Mixes things up from the rest of the time where you have all of these weapons. At the very end, you throw all the Striders at you, which have their attacks. You have the horror section with Ravenholm. Heck, even in the middle of chapter 10, 11, whichever it was, we had the Walking Dead sequence, I called it, right? Oh, you have the Don't Touch the Sand section and sand traps. How many of these big open sections, and then all of a sudden you're doing street warfare. There's all sorts. It just kept changing the pace all the time. It changing the situations, and it's not like we're doing one thing over and over and over again, or a couple things over and over and over again. So it's fun in that regard because it feels like it's throwing different things at you all the time. So it makes for a fun experience playing it as well, because it's always staying fresh. And I'm coming at this with 15 years of, I don't want to say hindsight because that's the wrong word, because I'm not looking back on with 15 years of memories of this game, but I'm looking at this with 15 years of memories of gaming. And I'm racking my brain, and I want to say that gaming was starting with that PS2, Xbox, GameCube generation. You're starting to see that shift into the more cinematic style of gaming. And so in that regard, this fits right in with the rest of it. So, and I think gaming's only pushed that farther and farther since. But you'd still say, from, lore and world building and all that, it does a pretty good job that's up there with a lot of games nowadays. So I can't criticize it for that too much. There's some good characters in there. Father Gregory, Barney, Breen. I hesitate to say Alex and Eli and Judith because they're in and out so much, yes, Gregory was in there for one chapter. Kleiner is your Professor Frink style comic relief type character, but he's good. He does it well too. So there's good memorable characters. There's the word I'm looking for. Memorable characters. That's a good way of describing that. The one thing is, I'm racking it through my head. It's ranked as the greatest game of all time on a lot of lists, and it's having just finished playing it, I just don't know where I'd rank it. And that's the one thing, is you almost feel like this is supposed to be the greatest game of all time, along with everything else that everyone says is the greatest game of all time, as one of you guys, or probably a few of you guys, put in the comments. So it's where does it rank? It's a good game. It's a great game. It's an excellent game, even 15 years on. And I can see why, if I put on my, think about where you were with gaming 15 years ago, Steve, and it's yeah, I would totally see why everyone would love it. I wouldn't question that. So it's fun from that regard. It was fun. It's fun today. If it's fun today and I enjoyed playing it today, then it had to have been otherworldly in 2004, right? Just logically extend that back. That might be one of the hallmarks of a great game, is when you look back on it. And me having played it for the first time in this example, you look back on it and you play it 15 years later, 20 years later in the case of Half-Life. You look back on that and it's hey, this is still a fun game. And there's still something great to it. And it's not I'm sure people are, well, Steve, I think you're being a little soft on it. It's does it really lag that far behind a lot of modern games? The AI's annoyingly good at times. The enemy AI, that is. The squad mates may as well be the enemy AI. They're working for the same goal, trying to get me killed. I mean, I'm not much of a shooter guy. Says the guy that how much of my channel is shooters? I'm not. Let me try that again. I'm not much of a shooter guy in general. But it's I thought the gunplay was perfectly cromulent. I mean, I was still struggling with certain things like the alt-fire on the pulse rifle. Hey, I figured out how to use the RPG this time, though. That's an improvement. But again, you've got weapons with, some satisfying sounds and feedback, and they have their purposes. It's not just like you can find one great weapon and stick with that to the end. But I think, like, the Cole's Notes version of my review of this is, it's a great game. It's still a great game. It must have been a superb game back in 2004. If I could say that about it now. Yes, it has its problems. But, I think it's pretty easy to overlook the little nagging issues when you sort of look at it in a whole, in a holistic sense of all the components together. I think this would be not quite as transformative as Half-Life 1, but still a big iterative step on top of the first one. And I think if you really want to see those big leaps in gaming, with Half-Life 2, the one thing I want to say is the big leaps in gaming, because Half-Life, again, not having as well-versed a knowledge of the history of gaming and its big leaps as some other people, Half-Life 1, you look at where it is in the timeline and what it did, that's a big jump. And then Half-Life 2, it's not as big a jump. I mean, you look at game-changing games from around this area. Halo, because of the regenerating, I hate to say it, it's because of regenerating health and just the two weapons and the quick swap. It's like, that was, I recall from that time that people talk about that being a big deal and bringing first-person shooters from the PC to a more accessible console, more well-designed and accessible for console. So is it that next big iterative step? Not as big as the first game. Still good, still a step above the first game in terms of the overall technical performance of it. But again, when you're comparing it from 1 to 2, it's like 1 just seems like it was that giant leap, and 2 is like, that's a healthy second step, but maybe that's why we're waiting on 3 so long, is we're waiting on that big leap again. But yes, that is it for my Let's Play of Half-Life 2. So we will have bonus content. You guys will go back and look at this, Steve. Yeah, that stuff. So hopefully you guys have written that down. It's either that tomorrow or it's going to be Lost Coast, which is a deleted portion of, I believe it was the Highway 17 chapter. And then it's on to the next LP. And this is one I've been looking forward to for doing. I wanted to do it last year. Didn't work. And now at least I think I have the game running. I think. I've got about 3 weeks generously to iron out all the kinks, so that way I can get a video up next week of the game I want to play. That's why I'm not saying what it is because I don't think it's... right now I've kind of got it ironed out to... If I'm going to do game capture, I need to use the capture card, so... Don't forget, though, lots of stuff on the channel, because next week should be the monthly special, and then we're still going with Diablo and Need for Speed. And then what's coming up new, and December's going to be a big month, because Star Wars is back. I heard there's a new movie coming out in December. It's not like I already have tickets or anything, is it? Anyway, hi. Yes, let's go. We're going to wrap it up. And hopefully, you will be around for the ride next time on Half-Life and Half-Life 2. But until then, I'm Unsilent. Thanks very much for joining me. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you're new. Share on social media. Follow on social media. The social media handle is Unsilent on air, and that is for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Don't forget you can check out more Half-Life and Half-Life 2 in the playlists there on the screen in the description down below, and more videos anytime on the channel page. And until the next time, I'm Unsilent. Thanks very much for joining me. Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time.